is the On Call Podcast, your home for sports, news, pop culture, tech, and the obscure. And of course, your host, Michael Meyer.
Are you ready?
Let's do it.
It's about to go down.
Are we going to get hopped up enough to make some bad decisions? And perhaps play a little game called Just the Tip. Just for a second.
You're goddamn right.
Washed it down with 1 beer, 2 beers, 3 beers, a shot of whiskey, a margarita, and a Bloody Mary.
Damn!
Stop it! Let's fucking go!
Welcome to another edition of the Bro Down Showdown MVZ Betalotopus gambling addict with no money on the line podcast. It is Miguel, the faithless leader, and proudly representing a shitty team for pretty much my whole life, except a couple years they were decent.
Yeah, we got 2010. I think won the division a good old 12 years ago. So, won the World Series in 90. So, all pretty relevant to, now.
90.
Baseball's in a lockout right now, but as soon as we're back in, the Reds will trade all of our talent for some lottery tickets.
Scratchers.
Mm-hmm.
As a Reds fan, how do you feel about Pete Rose?
Very, very talented player.
Do you think he should be in, or are you a moral guy?
What a loaded question. Are you moral or I mean, I guess it just depends. Probably.
I think he should be in.
Yeah, they said he always bet on his team to win. So, like, if he was betting on his team, he wasn't throwing games. Shoeless Joe Jackson should be in. Bonds should probably be in.
I agree with Bonds. I also think Sammy Sosa should be in because
they all should be. Because here's the thing, everyone used back then, except for King Griffey Jr.
They actively promoted steroid use, whether they admit it or not.
Oh yeah,
Chicks dig the long ball.
They knew. Mark McGwire did not exactly look natural. None of those guys look natural. And do you see the video games? They made him even buffer in the video games back then. They knew it. They were promoting it. And, like, I don't know. Andy Pettit used him. Like, the way I see it is, like, so many people used him. And, like, I don't know. I like the Tosh joke where he says,
Let
yeah,
all of them force them to take it.
well, when he says put an asterisk next to Barry Bonds' name, sure, just as soon as you put one next to Babe Ruth's name. He's like playing baseball before black people are allowed to play. And he was like, yeah, he's like, he didn't have Jose swimming there from Cuba, throwing him a 96-mile-per-hour slider. It's true.
I think Sammy and Mark should be in regardless, because if not for them, there would probably be no baseball.
Well, plus, here's my thing: is where's the line? I'm sure there are some pretty awful people who are in the Hall of Fame.
There most certainly is.
Yeah, like I don't think Canseco's gonna make it because of the steroids thing, but like if we're talking morals, what about when he tried to like chase those kids in his car on Halloween? I was gonna like run him over.
OJ's in the Hall of Fame, ain't he?
Yeah,
He's murder.
In which sport?
Football.
Yeah, baseball's the only one with the moral high ground for some reason, which is hilarious because they were so racist for so long. And it's not like it was just baseball was racist. Like, the country was racist and baseball was just around during it. But at the same time, it's just weird to be like, all right, you had a white-only league for so long, and now you'd be like, but we're the moral league. We do what's right. The NFL does not care.
And they have shown steroids do aid in recovery.
Mm-hmm. That's why they said Andy Pettit used. Because he was never big and bulky, but he would come back from his injury real fast. So, I mean, Ortiz tested positive, and he just got in.
I think it's just because if you kind of come off as an asshole.
Well, the thing about him is he's like, I only tested positive once as a false positive, and then I never tested positive again, to where with Bonds, it was like, come on.
Yeah.
He's like, I never used. Okay.
He, obviously the home run record, but
But what about Ryan Braun? He got
Oh,
caught
yeah.
using like 3 or 4 times, and just no one cares anymore. But when Sosa and Bonds and McGuire all got caught, it was like the height of it, and it was like super new and
Braun also fell off a fucking cliff.
yeah.
He wasn't. But by his last test positive, like he was already batting like 210.
It is sad that like all the talented players who hit all those home runs there for a while got in trouble. Palmeiro, Canseco, A-Rod,
Ooh.
Bonds, McGuire, Sosa. I mean, all
Palmeiro, man.
of them.
He gave some fucking good testimony. I never used ever, and then suspended.
There's only one slugger back then who I firmly believe didn't use.
The pure swinging baseball.
It's Griffey. And you don't have to use steroids if your swing's gonna be loop. And no one can think he did because he was always hurt. Like, that's evidence. Like, dude was not recovering from injuries quickly.
I think the consensus overall in all of the baseball fandom is he has the prettiest swing in the history of the sport.
Beautiful.
And it's gorgeous. Like, I had Ken Griffey Jr. Baseball on Super Nintendo.
When back when King Griffey Jr. was like at his peak,
The kid.
in Seattle, our baseball coach at Pendleton was super old school, and kids kept wanting to wear their hats backwards, and he was like, "No, we're not doing that." And they're like, "Well, King Griffey Jr. wears his backwards," and he said, "All right, I'll study with you guys. If you hit like Griffey, you can wear your hat backwards." No one did after that. I read a biography of his, or an autobiography or biography something, and they said that when he was like 13, he was playing with like 16-year-olds in like an AAU type thing for baseball, and like people were asking for his birth certificate because like there's no way that a 16-year-old can hit the ball that far, and they're like, no, he's 13. Like,
I am 12.
He's so good. He's one of the athletes that I would like if you had a list of athletes that you wish you could see a full healthy career, he'd be way up there.
He'd be like an 18-time Gold Glove winner.
He might have more homers than Bonds.
I believe he would have.
He had one season, he had 45 home runs at the All-Star break, and then the season was canceled because of a strike. I mean, that's incredible.
It's great. It's the most beautiful swing ever, but I don't think they would ever teach that swing because it's so long.
It's impossible to time. It's not a good swing to have.
And
They also, in that same biography, they talked about how in the minor leagues, they were trying to change his swing.
how well did he play in the minors? Did he just blow them up too?
He just blew him out of the water. And they said they tried to
shorten his swing
They
up.
tried to change his swing, and he was super confident about it. And like the Mariners weren't the best, and the GM was like, you know what, fine, come up here and like prove it. And like this 17-year-old goes up, his 22 home runs in like half a season, and they're like, okay, you can play.
I guess it'll work. It'll work.
Poor Mariners. They had him. Alex Rodriguez was the Mariner at the beginning.
Who?
Alex Rodriguez.
Yeah, A-Rod.
Yeah. I believe Randy Johnson.
Oh yeah, the unit. He played.
They just drafted all the good players, and then they couldn't keep him.
They didn't want to pay him.
Yep.
Although the Mariners didn't
so hard.
No, it was the Rangers that paid Alex Rodriguez the $252, and then they traded him to the Yankees to finish out his contract after.
Yeah, and the Yankees paid him even more.
But I wouldn't want to play in Seattle. Like if I was a professional athlete, a certain part of me I don't think is chasing the money. I would probably have a financial guy telling me, "Hey, you don't really want to go there. Property taxes are super high."
When you think Seattle sports, who comes to mind first? Ichiro?
Well, now it's probably Russ.
But to me, it's probably Ichiro's the only one that
He's a generational talent, and
Yeah, the thing is, like, there's no other baseball players that like stayed there long enough, and then
Griffey was there 5 years, 6 years?
Yeah, basketball, you had like Sean Kemp,
Gary Payton,
and Gary Payton, but like a lot of those guys did better stuff elsewhere. Ray Allen
and the team's no longer
Ray
there.
Allen was a Ray Allen was a Supersonic.
Seattle Supersonics.
Kevin Durant, his first year before they moved to the Thunder. But yeah, it's Russell Wilson and it's Ichiro, and
I would probably, as a professional athlete, thinking stuff, would avoid being on the West Coast because travel. Every game's like so.
I don't know.
My circadian rhythm be messed up.
Unless you're Trout.
Huh?
Unless you're Trout, you just get to live in LA and make $45 million a year and be the best player and be able to go to the grocery store and people not know who you are.
That's true.
Like,
and like ridiculous taxes.
He's not even big fish in LA. That's the cool thing about living in LA if you're Mike Trout. If you're Mike Trout in Cleveland, you will be recognized.
You have
at the
fans
grocery store.
sitting on your curb.
You will be recognized. To where like in LA doesn't really care about baseball too much.
Even though there's
or sports really in general.
The Angels, the Dodgers.
Then they have the Rams and the Chargers.
Yeah,
and
and
the
there's
Lakers and the Clippers.
The Chargers are
And the-
away teams in their own stadium.
Yeah, and then who? The Kings and some of them. They have like so many professional sports teams. And like I don't think they really care. And so many players live there. But like if you're Mike Trout, because it's baseball too, and you're in LA, you're such a small fish compared to all the actors and actresses and LeBrons and like NBA players have it rough because even if you're Joel Embiid, you're 7 foot tall. People are looking at you whether or not they recognize you. So it doesn't take long for someone to pick you out of a crowd because you're so freakishly tall.
Would you want your kid to be a professional athlete?
What
Or
sport?
which sport? The more I think about it, the more I think about how much I love Jax.
Baseball for sure.
I'm all for letting him try football as a youngin, but I'm not going to promote that. I don't think because there's just
Dude.
CTE it's got at this point.
Basketball is where the money is if you can make it.
Yeah, but
Like even like rotational players who play like 15 minutes a game make like 20 million a year. Like bank. It's just impossible to get in. Everyone always says baseball's the hardest sport to go pro in. I disagree. It's maybe to sustain a long career, and maybe it's the most difficult is to hit a baseball. That may be true. Like everyone can shoot a basketball, but not on this level. Because the thing is, there are 12 NBA players on a roster. There are 30 teams. There are 360 NBA players at a given time. LeBron's gonna be one of them for what, 20 years? You know what I mean? Like, he takes up one of those 360 spots for 20 years. And I think it shows in the draft. They do 2 rounds. There's 60 drafted players. Maybe 30 of them make a roster.
Maybe.
Luckily,
the D League's getting fairly big now, and there's that semi-pro.
But, like, without COVID, there'd be a lot less of these people playing right now. So, like, you get, like, 30 players that make the rosters. And, like, how many NBA players play longer than 2 seasons? The percentage is probably incredibly low.
Yeah. And think if you're just born at the wrong time,
But
your skill, what you were raised doing, can all of a sudden be like eliminated. Like,
but like, look, if you look at the floor, like if you look at who's out there, Russell Westbrook been in the league for a long time. Anthony Davis been in the league like 9 years, 10 years. Like those 360 spots are just taken up by so many guys who are in the league for 15 years is like a normal career for good NBA players. And because of that, I think it makes it even harder because players last so long when they are good. Like Dwight Howard's been in the league for 18 seasons.
Yeah, and you talk about like, I can shoot like that. Listen, these players will go 2 for 11 in the game, but when they're playing in practice, they're going 10 of 11 from 36 feet.
And they're 6'11", like 230. Like, you better be a freak monster-sized human.
And then baseball, I would love to say I'd push him to play baseball, but what if he's a kid that's just like bound for AA? So like he's good, but he's just not getting there. He has stints in AAA and AA. You want your kid to chase that dream for 10 years of riding a fucking bus?
You push college on him then.
Well, yeah, I'm not going to say get him drafted by the Rays in his junior year of high school, and I want him to go to college. But as a professional athlete,
the players who get drafted out of high school,
they're going to the bigs.
Well, I mean, there are a lot of kids baseball's like a 70 round.
Yeah.
Like, there are kids in my high school who got drafted like, there were a couple kids in my high school who got drafted by pros in like the 70th round and stuff. I had no shot of ever making it pro. It's just one of those things like, what if they, because when you're drafting,
what if he blooms?
When you're drafting 17-year-olds and stuff, you're also projecting. Like, what if they grow another 2 inches and their fastball goes up 4 more miles an hour? Like, then we're talking. Like, that kind of stuff happens. But yeah, like the kids, like the Bryce Harpers, the Mike Trouts of the world, the King Griffey Juniors of the world, you know you don't need to, like, this is a different level when you're like, I'm the #1 overall pick at 17 versus like,
yeah, people were watching like Steven Strasburg. They were the equivalent of LeBron James for baseball.
And Strasburg's been a quote unquote bust by some people because they thought he was gonna be like the best pitcher of all time, and instead he's just like the 15th, 16th best pitcher in baseball.
I mean, there's only one Randy Johnson sort of thing. Like,
yeah, and like the thing is, like, he's like maybe he might be like the 25th actually, like, best pitcher in baseball.
And it's
like, that's still very impressive.
And a bunch of doctors and trainers said going into, like, when he was at San Diego State, like, his arm motion is not going to make for a long career.
And the funny thing is, it's not like he's 25th quarterback where there's 32 teams. He's 25th pitcher where teams have 5 starters, officially,
5 to 7 starters,
like officially 5, so 150 starting pitchers, and then you have every team has 3 or 4 bullpen guys who want to be starters. So, like,
yep.
A lot of young guys start out as bullpen guys and try to graduate to.
Yeah, they get brought up. If they're lucky, they get brought up early, and they continue to long toss.
You get brought up early to be a postseason contributor and pitch 2 or 3 innings, and then they try to then bloom into that. And then every once in a while, people can't hold up for 3 innings, and they become closers. I mean, that's where a lot of closers come from too.
It's crazy. It's like when you're 20. Your fastball is likely still to go up another 5 miles an hour if you continue your growth using like long tossing.
By the way, what do you think you could throw?
I know the fastest I've ever thrown.
What do you think you can throw now?
Now, probably 68, 72.
I'm sitting there going, that's funny you say that, because I was like, could I get over 70? I don't know if I could proper.
Yeah, if you
Crow
want-
hopping for
crow,
sure.
Crow hopping for
For
sure.
sure. I can get like 74 probably. But like, could I get to 70 in like a pitching motion?
From the stretch or from the windup.
Either way. I don't. Either way, I don't. I'm not sure the windup would help me. If I've not played in so long.
It helped me because my windup, I had
I'm
a
saying
significant.
now.
Yeah,
It would have helped me in the past.
I have a much higher leg kick from the windup than I do from the stretch. I'm a very compact from the stretch pitcher when I was. But I think as I recall, the fastest I ever threw was 85. But it's not there now. I can hear my arm click after throwing the football.
Yeah, basketball though is the money making sport if you can crack it. And then baseball's also good. Football's not. Like everyone wants to point to Mahomes when he gets on me. Yeah, if you are a
Generational talent.
if you're one of those 10 quarterbacks who get absolutely paid in a decade, sure. But there's 1 or 2 quarterbacks a year that are paid heavily. The rest of the positions, I mean, if you're a running back now, McCaffrey got paid, but like most teams aren't going to pay you more than $10 million a year. And your career is super short.
That sucks so
So that's the thing is if you get the running backs, they need to fix the system because they get screwed right now because you get drafted. You have to play 3 years removed from high school, so they get drafted at 21. You have your rookie deal that's
4 years, fifth year option.
Yeah,
If you're a first rounder.
Yeah, so 4 years that puts you at you're now 25. 5th year option team picks it up. You're 26. They tag you. 27. They tag you a second time. You're 28, and then they're like, we don't want you anymore. You're 28. Like that happens all the time. That's what we did to Lev.
But
Steelers
if
at
you're
the Bell.
if you're tagged that second time,
No, you make good money for 2 years. Bell made like $16 million after the second tag, but then he didn't get his big fat contract because he was 28 years old.
he did get a fat ass contract for the Jets, and then he got cut.
Well,
His contract was so shitty.
Okay, contract.
His
with the
contract
Jets.
was so shitty that the GM got fired.
Well, he got an okay contract with the Jets. I mean, he was going to make $16-17 million a year for like 4 or 5 years, and the Jets ended up giving him like 13 for 4 or something.
The Steelers were smart. He wasn't worth it.
Right? No, but I'm just saying like that's where running backs get screwed.
There should be a tiered system. I agree.
I like the smart. And it's just hard. It's a hard line. What do you do? Make the contract shorter? So then, like, if a running back just a bust, he doesn't get any money. You know what I mean? That's where it gets hard. But Mahomes, maybe I guess you could add more player options. Like make it a 3-year, 2-year player option type thing where the player could pick it up if they want, but the team has no say. I don't know. But all I do know is that the Mahomes contract, I think, will age as one of the better contracts ever.
In 3 years, it'll look like a pretty decent contract.
In 5 years, it'll look like one of the best contracts in football because he's getting $45 million a year for 10 years, which is a ton of money right now. But I mean,
Jared Goff was making 40.
yeah, exactly. And like 4 or 5
Taysom Hill.
in 4 or 5 years from now, he's gonna be like the 8th or 9th highest paid quarterback. And then he's still gonna have 5 more years of his contract.
And he'll be
Like,
a Hall of Famer.
he's gonna have 5 more years of his contract, and then he's just gonna keep winning. Like England, it was so smart. They signed him on a 10-year deal when he was, 20,
Before his 5th season,
he's
right?
like 25 or 24 when they signed him to a 10-year deal. So he's gonna be 34, 35 when the contract's up. That's perfect.
He can get another 6-year deal if he
But
gets
he'll
on the
wa-
TB12 system.
He'll want to stay because at that point you're in.
You're locked in.
But you don't have to deal with it. They're not going to pay him 5 years, and then at 30, when he's still amazing, they saw what they needed to see, and they don't have to do the contract thing 5 years from now. So the Rays just did it with Wander Franco, which I've never seen in baseball before. They
What
just
was it?
paid him a 10-year, $225 million contract during his rookie season.
What sucks is there's so many
Before he goes
holdouts.
to arbitration, but they basically just said you're a Ray for this long. They are basically deciding that he is awesome, and if he ends up being Mike Trout, they got to steal. But they might have just overpaid the snot out of him if the bottom falls out.
You think he holds out? What sucks is the holdout thing that players do. Like you sign the contract,
They don't do it in baseball.
not too often.
It's really I can't think of any. That's what's weird about baseball. Like team players want trades, but
Holdouts happen so much in the NFL.
in football because rookies get screwed over, and it's usually running backs. Fournette,
Wide
Bell.
receivers have done it traditionally.
Wide receivers, a lot of running backs recently have held out.
It happens a lot less now with receivers, I think, because their tier system pay is so much higher
and
now.
they get paid younger. People are re-signing their receivers younger because that's what's important.
It's a premium.
Running backs, if you're smart, you would never sign one to a big fat contract.
No, because you can pay a receiver, an elite wide receiver, it's hard to find. A running back that can service you for 3 years is a dime a dozen.
That's why I didn't love the Najee Harris pick. Although I think he's good and all. Like, we have way too many holes for us to be taking a running back that early.
There's a couple every year that take a running back too soon.
Yep.
Do you think so into the NFL now, like Sean Payton gone.
He retired.
Do you think he goes to the broadcast booth for a year and then tries to get out of his New Orleans contract?
I don't think is he gonna be able to broadcast?
NBC
I
wants
don't
him.
think so. Because of the whole bounty gate.
He's smart.
Yeah. A lot of coaches don't go, and you have to be kind of liked as a coach, I feel
Is
like.
he not liked?
No, he's pretty hated because of the whole bounty gate thing. Pete Carroll's also not very liked. Like, Belichick's not liked. A lot of great coaches aren't liked. That's what I'm learning.
Because they're willing to do anything to win.
Like, what coach, like Bill Cowher, is the only, like,
Bill
big
Parcells,
name-
man.
big name coaches. Yeah, Parcells, people like Parcells too. People like Parcells, people like Cowher, but there's not very many. Like, Andy Reid's not even very well liked.
John Madden.
Yeah.
R.I.P.
Now we're going back. We mostly do players now.
Yeah. What's funny is you have all these players that go into broadcasting, but it seems like the better broadcasters were shitty players. Or if they're great players, they're actually just not very good broadcasters.
It's because the smart people make good broadcasters, and that they don't.
The
you don't
elite
have
athletes
To, you don't have to
don't.
be a freak athlete to be a good broadcaster.
Yeah, like Orlovsky.
Well, then there's people like or Nate Burleson. Love Nate Burleson, and he is everywhere right now. Like, he is on
Nickelodeon kid.
he's on morning shows.
I love GMFB. I love that he played for the Vikings, and I'm not even sure if he is, but he's a
He was
Bears
on
fan.
Lion, too.
He's a Bears fan. And I love that. That's the reason I like Good Morning Football, is because they're all Bears fans, except Kay Adams, who now has switched sides. She likes a different team now.
I like Good Morning Football. It's a good one. I miss when we just I wish when it wasn't all this color commentating stuff, and it was more just like smart people.
I do love analytics in football.
Like, I like analytics in basketball. Like, I like Zach Lowe and Danny Leroux and people like that who, like, really know what they're talking about instead of just, like, people who are just talking. Like,
What's next for Big Ben?
he retired today.
Yeah, what's next?
Getting really fat. Did you follow his career?
Put some ice cream on it.
Dude didn't work out in the offseason hardly. His whole career, they said. He really didn't work out in the offseason.
I don't know if he worked out in the season.
He said that he would take his cleats off after their last game in the regular season and wouldn't put them on until training camp. Like, so he's going to get so fat. He's not one of those players who's going to get thin. He's going to get fat.
Yeah, lineman.
He might come back from it because obviously you have the money and like you can get out of it, but he's going to get really fat here in a little bit.
Yeah, probably.
He's not coaching. He's not broadcasting. You won't hear from him again.
Do you? I don't know.
It's kind of cool though. Like, he doesn't
That's
need
smart.
it.
Yeah, he's fucking
Like,
loaded.
I'm saying his life is gonna be I'm hanging out with my wife and kids, just eating, vacationing all the time. I'm saying that's kind of cool. Like, Tom Brady will never be able to walk away. Yeah. They're starting that rumor now that he might retire this year. No, he's not. And also, even if he does, how long before he's broadcasting in the booth or coaching? He's not able to step away. I don't think he'd be content in broadcasting.
I think his competitive
He'll
nature.
coach.
Yeah, he'll start talking shit on players, and they'll call him in to be a coach. He'd be a better coach than a broadcaster.
If him and Belichick wouldn't have ended, it'd been so interesting to see him come and be Belichick's OC. Like that would have been like a very interesting step, but that won't happen. How do you feel? This is kind of interesting. How would you feel as the Bears? They had Matt Eberflus today.
Mm-hmm.
How would you have felt if Tom would have retired and then became the head coach of the Bears?
Let's fucking go.
You would have tried it right away. Like he's
Hop
never no coaching experience clearly, but I think I'd be excited.
I watched that man in the arena thing. he's been a coach for many years at this point, and
I feel like he would do a really good job of squeezing the most talent out of like the guys who don't matter.
I think him as a coach makes more sense than him as a coordinator. I don't need his system. He's a leader, and I think that's the most important thing a coach can do.
I think he would squeeze, like I said, every ounce of talent out of people.
That's right. I got to give you my coach for that. That man in the arena is it's badass.
I'm excited. I want to watch that pretty bad.
It's he talked about later in his career. He learned about the 4 excuses or whatever, the things that make you a champion. It's just like no excuses, do your best. You know, there's 4 of the 4 tenets of something. It's crazy. I didn't. I should have sat and watched it rather than being at the gym. So I didn't focus as much. And it doesn't even go into his time at Tampa. I didn't know what they were going to do. It fully stops the last Super Bowl in New England.
Yeah,
So I'm hoping there's like a MIA 2.
Yeah, I definitely want to watch it. But yeah, I don't know. It's just always interesting projecting. Like Peyton,
I don't think Peyton would be as good a coach as Tom would.
I don't think so either. He doesn't have that same leader mentality, which is weird from someone who is
A leader quarterback. But it's his brain. I think
I saw an interesting stat too that said today that said there are 3 NFL quarterbacks all time with 60,000 passing yards and 2 Super Bowl wins, and it's Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, and Ben Roethlisberger.
sorry, Drew only got 1.
Yeah, it's just kind of weird to like. That's a weird list. Like I forget that Roethlisberger was pretty good. Like
Yeah, he had like 6 years where he was with him and Todd Haley. Was that the coordinator?
him and Bruce Arians was probably his peak.
I mean, AB. They had AB for 9 years, right?
Him
He
and
was
AB
elite,
tore
all
it
of
up.
them.
Him and AB tore it up.
And then whoever was the second and third option
Mike Wallace
lived off of it.
Martavis, Juju, they all boomed.
A
with
few
AB.
years of Heinz Ward.
Dude, can we talk about the Super Bowl roster? Where we won against the Cardinals, how stacked that wide receiver room was.
Antoine Randall L.
Well, that was Super Bowl 40. I'm talking about the one with where we faced the Cardinals. We had Santonio Holmes, Heinz Ward, Mike Wallace, Emmanuel Sanders, Antonio Brown, and Nate Washington.
God, Emmanuel Sanders has been around forever.
Talk about that wide receiver room, though. That is very impressive.
That's pretty badass.
I mean, it's so like, and like the Steelers can just draft receivers like it's nothing.
That's not fair.
That's why I didn't want you to. I don't want you to get the Omar Khan guy because he's a salary cap wizard, and he's our he's the guy he's our wide receiver guy. He's the guy who scouts receivers.
Well, here's hoping they can still bring him on as like a VP of operations or something.
And there was another Steelers guy, Brandon Hunt, who was getting interviews for some GM positions, who people said that he might be the Steelers GM potentially, and he's our pro scout, the one who told us to get Ahkello Witherspoon and Davis, and he's the one who orchestrated the Minka deal.
He knows how to finagle.
The Steelers GM room has been pretty good for a long time. With Colbert and the gang. It'll be sad that Colbert's retiring.
Oh shit! Carmelo Anthony getting into it with a fan at the Lakers game. I'm curious to see who the Bears bring in as an offensive coordinator. That's the most important. I don't care that they hired a defensive head coach.
No, he'll call the defensive plays now. Like that's the thing is everyone's like, oh, Tomlin calls the defensive plays. I'm like, yeah, that's what happens. All the offensive coordinators that become head coaches, Andy Reid, he calls his plays. Like you call the plays for the side that you did.
You know, we just had an offensive guru, and see how that worked out for us.
It's so weird how many people are seen as offensive people. Like Brian Billick for the Ravens was considered the offensive genius, and he had freaking Trent Dilfer and Jamal Lewis. And they never did anything, and they had that 2001 Ravens defense. It was unbelievable.
They were kind of a nothing offense for years. If
Yeah,
it weren't
they
for
were.
Ray Lewis and that squad, they wouldn't have any Super Bowls.
It's so weird.
I'm trying to think. They talked about it and all over Twitter. Who the coordinator was that made Joe Flacco look like a $140 million man? He's still in the league.
Dude, that was overpaid when it happened, though.
Yeah, that was a bad contract
I
from
love
day
it.
one.
As a Steelers fan, when they paid him, I was like, yes! I'm like, that just going to send them to mediocrity for a decade. But the thing that's terrible is, like, team players like that have you by the balls when that happens. Matthew Stafford, Goff, Flacco, whenever people want to point to those types of people, what's the alternative? Like, that's what's hard. It's like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of an example of someone playing right now. Kirk Cousins. A lot of people are like, he's not that good. Okay. Or Dak. Don't pay him. In what?
Then what? That's the thing.
Roll with Cooper Rush? Like, roll with... It just doesn't work. Like, the Steelers, like we saw them with Hodges, and like you have to have a quarterback to win games, and yes, it kind of forces you to mediocrity. However, it keeps you mediocre rather than terrible.
When you lose the 15th best quarterback, you might end up with one who's 50th.
Yeah,
And
no, for sure.
look at what happened to the Saints. Perennial NFC division round
Like, people...
to nothing.
When people bash on Carson Wentz, top 20 quarterback in football.
What? Yeah, if he wasn't so erratic, it'd be way better. But
No, he's top 20. Like I said, I'm not even saying that as like a compliment. It's just people talk like he's 50th.
it's true.
He's not. He's a starter. Like, he makes throws that backups cannot make.
Yeah,
Like,
and,
that's the thing is,
and those that several starters can't make.
I think he has a mental block. I think he has some like ego
Something's got to
issues.
snap. Yeah, something's got to break to like get him. It's like an alcoholic who keeps stumbling down but hasn't hit rock bottom yet. To just
And this might be a hot take, but like Baker, I think he legitimately is like 40th. I think he's legitimately not good.
I think given the situation, Trubisky would be better than Baker.
Baker's not a good football player. Like, that's the thing is, like, I can't believe they took him over Josh Allen.
Yeah, but
Josh Allen was the pick. Everyone thought it was going to be him or Darnold. And they took Baker out of left field.
why was Allen the pick? They were scared that he only
He was
threw for
built-
like.
He was
He-
built like a
yeah, he's
quarterback.
built-
He had the cannon.
So was
He was
Jamarcus
huge.
Russell,
He was fat, big.
but he could throw the ball 70 yards
That's
in the
true,
air.
but I'm saying that Josh Allen, everyone was saying he was like a young Ben Roethlisberger. He had the powerful arm. He could run.
But the concern is that he threw 52%
Yes.
completion percentage going
But
in.
The concerns about Baker, where he didn't have a strong arm, was short, and had possible personality issues. Like,
A few of those
I
have
don't-
come true.
and well, I'm saying I don't understand how he had the behavioral issues and then also was short and didn't have a big arm and somehow got drafted number 1. Like, that's kind of weird.
The
He had
great
a
numbers
lot of
that
red flags.
the great numbers that come with playing at Oklahoma.
Oklahoma's had him, Bradford, and Kyler all go 1. Sam Bradford, people thought he was going to be so good for a little bit. The Rams have had a history of that with him. Goff, people thought was going to be really good.
Poor-
People thought Mark Bulger was going to be really
Part
good.
of Bradford though, like he got destroyed by injuries early on.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean-
ACL after ACL, shoulder issues when he was with the Vikings.
But I think a lot of people like the argument of like where you land causes so much issues. Like, someone was like, if the Browns had Josh Allen, would he still be Josh Allen? Or is it the offensive coordinator? Is it the system? Or like, I hear that kind of stuff all the time. Or like, I was just talking to some buddies
hard
and they
to
said
say.
Trevor Lawrence will never be good because he's a Jaguar. and there's no coming out of that. And my thing is, Mike, you can't. Like, I see where you're coming from somewhat, but at the same time, like, if you're good, you're gonna be good.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as young success, it's a lot easier. But, like, look at Burrow. He's in the league 2 years. Herbert's been in the league 2 years. And, like, which Herbert had a better situation. Burrow necessarily really didn't. That first year was pretty bad. And now they're in the AFC Championship.
Just, yeah, it was just they had signs. You know, Mixon, great. T. Higgins.
But the thing about Baker is he didn't have good numbers, and he had a perfect situation. A great defense.
He should.
Chubb, Hunt, Odell, Jarvis, a great offensive line.
They should have already been in the Super Bowl.
They, on paper, were one of the best teams in football.
By a lot.
I was terrified Tom was going to go there when he's a free agent.
Tom Brady?
Yeah, Baker's going to be a free agent this year. I don't think he's coming back to Cleveland. I don't know.
They did his 5th year. They didn't
haven't
do it
accepted it yet.
Not yet. No, okay. That's what I was wondering.
He's going to be a free agent. And the thing is, I'm like, they're going to wait and hope that they can get A-Rod. Is what they're hoping.
That motherfucker ain't going to Cleveland.
I sure hope not. I'm glad that Odell's not there, though.
Speaking of, we saw Hackett, whatever his name was, Hackett, right?
Yeah.
Went to Denver.
Yeah, if Rodgers went to Cleveland and they still had Odell, and they had Odell and Jarvis and Hooper and those running backs and that offense and that line and that defense, that'd be terrible for Pittsburgh.
It'd be terrible for the rest of the AFC.
I still think it's funny that everyone thinks he's going to go to Pittsburgh, and I'm like, there's no way.
I don't see it now.
I didn't ever see it. My problem is we're going to have to trade for him, and Pittsburgh just doesn't trade for people.
They just got Minka.
I know, but that was a special situation of a guy who'd played one season. We traded a first-round pick for him. Anybody who's wanted to give up on guaranteed stars who were in their second season, Pittsburgh will trade for those. But Pittsburgh isn't the type to trade. They're going to trade for 37-year-old Aaron Rodgers and give up real stuff for him when we have that many holes on our team.
So I don't know fully what the rules are. Rodgers can just straight up opt out and request a trade, right?
I thought that, but I'm pretty sure you have to trade for him though. You can't. He's not going
to.
No,
yeah. Like he can choose to you're trade me because I'm not playing.
Yeah, theoretically.
He had some sort of specialty. I thought his clause was almost like a player option for this season, but I think that's not it.
They said that, but I think it was kind of wink, wink. We promise we'll do this, but they could just go back on it. They could just not honor that promise, because they're not going to give him away.
USA Today has just dropping the shittiest takes.
Everyone thinks Fields is gone. That Fields is being gone.
There was another one of those fucking today.
It's heavily rumored. It always is the case. It's always the case because it actually happens a lot. I thought it was just the Josh Rosen thing, but that was just because it was such a high pick. But it's pretty common for people to take over and want their guy. When the Eagles changed front offices, they got rid of Carson Wentz right away and drafted Hurts. It's pretty normal to be like, I want my guy.
It's fair.
But
it's the same reason Bradford got traded too, I think.
But, I mean, it depends. It depends on what the team feels like. If the owner's like, I'm sold on Fields, that might have been part of the interview process. How do you feel about Fields? We like Fields.
Everything I'm saying is that's why the coaches that were interviewed got second interviews. Like Jim Caldwell, he came in with an outline plan of everything he wanted to do for Fields. He didn't get the gig, but honestly, I wouldn't mind him at OC.
Yeah, I'm just very interested to see what happens to the quarterbacks every which way, because there's gonna be a lot of movement this year.
I don't want to see Pittsburgh, all of a sudden have a losing season. I like I like them to be average.
I don't even know if we can. The way Tomlin's coached, it's kind of But the good thing is, we had a winning season this year technically, and Ben was terrible. He was terrible. I don't think Rudolph's worse than what Ben was this year.
Maybe you guys should go for Mitch. Young wheels, cheap ass contract.
If you saw the favorites What were those odds? Let's see if I can find them. They had the Steelers odds.
There was
See if I can find them here. The Steelers. I know Rudolph was the favorite. Oh, here it is. Rudolph's 11-4, and then so like heavy favorite, and then it was Derek Carr, Jimmy Garoppolo, Jameis Winston, Kenny Pickett, Dwayne Haskins, Kirk Cousins, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Matt Corral, Russell Wilson, Marcus Mariota.
I would like Mariota there.
Yeah, I'd be okay.
Who's the OC right now?
Oh my goodness! So what's that rumor?
That was today's. Russell Wilson goes to the Bears.
Okay.
Seattle Seahawks get Roquan Smith, Justin Fields, this year's second-round pick, next year's first and second-round pick.
That's a lot.
I would never, ever, ever do that.
I might. I don't know. That's only one first and 2 seconds.
For
Roquan Smith is good.
I feel bad for Roquan. He was like second or third in the league in tackles. He's second in the league over the past 3 seasons.
If you could take Roquan out of that trade, I would do it.
Maybe consider it, but
I would definitely do it.
But you're
Because
losing.
Justin Fields is still a lottery ticket. Russell Wilson's a given.
I don't know, man. I'm not about that life. I love Fields. It's the reason I bought the autographed jersey. You don't see a Mitch Trubisky jersey. It was never in this house.
Yeah, that's true. I'm just saying it's one of those things like I'm all for the known
commodities
oh my
versus.
gosh, did you see Sean McVay's quote about that? He said a lot of teams give us crap for giving up picks for Ramsey and giving up picks for Von Miller, and he's like, I just say, I'd rather have a known commodity than a lottery ticket.
I understand that.
And their roster is pretty good, but the problem is their future is going to be pretty screwed over because they don't have any picks to get young talent.
Yeah, and look at you end up like the Saints, who are now like $40 million, some ridiculous amount of money in debt, with no quarterback.
See,
now no coach.
The Steelers have all kinds of money, but it's like for what?
The Bears have, depending on how it goes, between $38 and $44 million. A-Rob is gone. Robinson's gone. Like they're not like he already got franchised. They're not going to do a second one.
Free agent quarterbacks are Fitzpatrick, Andy Dalton, Cam Newton, Tyrod, Winston, Brissett, Bridgewater, Marcus Mariota, Trubisky. So I'd take Trubisky or Mariota or someone like that just for like a fill-in.
And then to find out what if Trubisky sucked because Nagy's system just did not benefit him at all.
Yeah,
That would be the situation. What if you find out that the MVP award that Trubisky got from Nickelodeon was worth it. Oh, by the way, we should get into picks since we're already 48 minutes in.
Yeah. Give me the favorites.
Hold on.
All right. Give me
Results. Going into the week, I was up 137 and 103 over 136 and 104. Unfortunately, I went 104. Zach, you went 2-2. For the season total, 138 and 106 apiece. This weekend, Bengals at the Chiefs. Chiefs, 7-point favorites. I'm taking the Chiefs.
Yeah. Like you said, I think I'm taking the favorites on both.
And Niners at 3.5-point favorite Rams.
Yeah, I'm taking the Chiefs and Rams. I don't care if it's the donkey play of the week or whatever.
So we're both taking the favorites. So regardless, this week we will be tied.
Yeah, it'll come down to the Super Bowl. Maybe we could for the Super Bowl. Let's do a special edition.
We'll have to do
Like a lot of props.
we can do props.
Like we have the QBs, and then we have passing yards for both quarterbacks, rushing yards for both running backs, receiving yards for depending on who makes it, we can pick some people. Like if it's Rams and
I mean,
Chiefs.
if it's Niners, like you're gonna have to bet under everything because Jimmy G
Right.
under 10 completions sort of thing.
Right, but also we could add something like that. That'll be $1 million for the Super Bowl. I have to pee, pretty bad.
All right, I'll put another break. We'll do a little BRB, and let's see, what do you guys need to hear this time? Let's see. You know, you guys can hear Candyland by Tobu. Right. It's back. Better than ever. All that good jazz. I see it played a song that I didn't know, so we'll see if that one's going to hit me with the copyright because I've never heard that song before. Oh, we'll find out tomorrow when I get hit or not. Anyway, so we made our picks. Onwards to what you really care. Top 5 series finales. And as we had said, it's a tough one. There's so many shows, and whether they're canceled, like one of my favorites at the time was Brooklyn Nine-Nine. It got canceled. It's just because it wasn't apparently a viewership thing. And then they got brought back by a bunch of people signing petitions. I was one of those. You can come out. And universally panned was the Game of Thrones finale.
It's bad.
I'm
They
mad that
built
was
up her for the whole time, and then they're like, no, but she's bad. No sense.
How'd you think about that bidet?
I liked it.
I enjoyed that. I want to feel it after a poop because I just put that in. Like I just bought a Hello Tushy 3.0, the classic. Surprisingly cheap. I was gonna get one at the start of the pandemic during the toilet paper fiasco of the world. Nicole's like, "Oh, I never use it," and I was like, "You know what? Fuck it." It was on sale for $79. I was like, "Man, it's worth it." I want to feel a bidet. Everyone says once you have one, you'll never not want one.
Well, plus, my biggest argument for why I've always wanted one is if you step and poop and you're barefoot outside, you're never gonna wipe it off with a paper towel and be like, "That's good." Like, you would never do that. You would never wipe it off with a paper towel and then just go on with your day. You want water of some kind, right?
Yeah, and
So then when you wipe your butt, you're like, just paper, and you're like, yeah, it's fine.
And I'm a big wet wipe advocate. But with all my caffeine supplements and everything, I feel like if I'm using paper, if I press hard enough or if I push a little bit, there's always going to be you can get a dot. A good spray down, I think, will really clean that pipe out. Practically an enema. So I'm excited for the future with this Hello Tushy. It was cold, but it wasn't as cold as I thought it was going to be. So that makes me feel better because if you want to get one of the nice ones, there's like $400, $500 for those nice ones that are heated. This one, bare bones, just turn the crank.
There you go.
Not all the way, because I will say I turned it a little too high the first time, and I sprayed Jackson in the face.
You know what? Maybe if you love it, that's when you upgrade later.
Then it's a thing, like I got to deal with the plumber, because I got to get hot water to it. Extra dials and knobs. This one, it was fucking easy. You just unscrew your fucking toilet seat, lift it off, turn off your water, flush it a couple times to empty the tank, and then put the adapter that they send you into the back of the toilet. One connector going to the wall, one connector going to the Tushy, toilet thing back on. It took like 3 songs, so like aggressively stating 12 minutes, conservative 7.5. I was impressed at how easy it was to do the whole kit and caboodle. Anyway, sorry, the shitter of a finale that the Game of Thrones was sent me on the spiral of the bidet.
Well, it still thinks it's hard. It's like most are just canceled nowadays. Shows have short leashes. A lot of my favorite shows are still running.
Like, well, I think Netflix has really made that a thing to where we're going to end it before it gets...
Well, and the other thing, too, is like...
No one watches like CBS, NBC, ABC anymore.
Right, but like there's so many shows that are canceled, so many shows that are still going that I like, but then also like Family Guy. How would you ever write a series finale for that? Or like the way they've set up American Horror Story.
Well, yeah, anthology series are very difficult.
And the thing is, that's what we're going towards. We're going to a lot of like 1 hour 10-parters. Well, we're like, that's what society wants.
Where truly one season is its entire series, but next season it's gonna have the same name, but different main characters, different storyline.
Yeah, or just
like
one-offs.
True Detective.
Or just one-offs in general. I feel like we've had a lot of just one-offs recently, and
Miniseries are pretty.
yeah.
You can tell a whole story and end it without someone being mad at you. Then
Yeah, we're doing that instead of TV shows and instead of movies.
what?
Those like miniseries,
Yeah.
I think, are the future. Because they're beating movies because, like, especially doing an adaptation, like, I don't think there's ever going to be like a Harry Potter again, where you have a 2.5 hour movie. Like, I just don't think that we're going to do that because it's just going to be. We'd rather have it be. Like, if they did Harry Potter now, I don't think they'd do it that way. I think it'd be on HBO, and every
Right.
book would be a season. You'd have
That'd
like
be a good way to do it. Though.
10 episodes, like it'd be 10 hour, like it'd be 7 10-hour movies or 10-hour seasons, basically.
Look at Lovers of Lord of
And
the
you
Rings.
can easily do it if you've read the Harry Potter books.
Yeah, like Lord of the Rings. Like,
Yeah, they did a 7.5-hour Hobbit, which is the shortest one.
and people complained at how much got missed on the Harry Potter or in the Lord of the Rings. Oh, they missed this part and this part, and this is like the best part of the book. It's like, oh shit.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. You could easily do it. So I think that's where we're going to, and I just don't see anyone else. They tried to do it hard for a while after Harry Potter was like so big. They tried it Twilight, and it was semi-successful. And then after that, they just tried it to everything.
Hunger
Divergent,
Games.
Maze Runner,
Yeah.
Hunger Games. Like, we went through a fad of dystopian. Was a big thing, but also a fad of like, we're doing teenage books, we're doing them all. And they just, no one cared.
Divergent was a real letdown as far as that goes.
Yeah.
I think it was a one-off. Like that success, it's done.
Yep.
Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings.
But Harry Potter's the only one that was like planned from the jump, going to be 7 movies at least. And then freaking they do Fantastic Beasts, and do you see how wildly rapidly that changed? It was gonna be a one-off, and then about 2 months after the one-off was announced, they're like, we're gonna do 2, and then a month later they're like, we can do 3, and then like within 5 or 6 months of them announcing they already did the first one, they're like, we're doing 6. 6 Fantastic Beasts, and they'll have me for all of them. J.K. Rowling just created a world where she'll just have my money, I guess. But I will say they're at least doing those movies well. They're not just slapping them out. Like I have a bone to pick with Marvel. I feel like once Disney bought them, they're just pushing them for money. Which I think Disney's did the exact same thing for Star Wars right now.
I haven't heard anything. I haven't even seen anything positive about the newest thing.
That Shang-Chi or whatever.
No, I heard that was fucking excellent. What's the newest thing they did for Star Wars? The Boba Fett stories or whatever?
Oh, yeah.
I haven't heard
But I'm saying they're just pumping them out. Once Disney got a hold of Lucasfilm and Marvel, Disney's like, let's just do them.
And that kind of sucks.
I mean that's what they're just doing them. Like there's 2 Marvel movies every year.
They're destroying the lore.
Yeah, there's 2 Marvel movies every year, basically, at least.
I would probably pay more attention to it, but Nicole doesn't like superhero stuff.
I'm really bored of the Marvel movies.
I love the Avenger movies.
They feel kind of formulaic at this point, and it's just that's where things lose me. Like a lot of my TV shows, like I was never a big NCIS fan or those crime type shows because they just felt too formulaic. There's only one formulaic show I really like, and it's House. I just like Gregory House. I mean, that's all that is, really. I just liked him through it.
And at least there's people hated parts of House, and that
the thing that's cool
the
about
obscure
House
shit.
is there was at least somewhat of a mystery that you're just not gonna understand what twists they're gonna take. It wasn't like NCIS where like, oh, someone was murdered. Oh, it's gonna be one of the 3 people I met. You know what I mean? Like.
Yeah, even though House did some obscure shit, it was diagnosis as that did exist.
And it was always cool at the end how it would come all together to where you can't do that in a crime show, really. It's like, I murdered him because he cheated on me. All right.
There's Professor Plum in the library with the candlestick.
And you're just like, cool. Like, some of the, like, heist movies and stuff, like, get really fancy at the end. Like, you can do it in a movie, but, like, every week you can't keep... It'd be too much. If you just every week is this super convoluted mystery murder. If every single one was a Poirot mystery, which they're doing death or Murder on the Nile, which I'm pretty excited about. Poirot's cool.
Don't know him.
Hercule Poirot, Murder on the Orient Express.
I've heard of it. Yeah.
Yeah, he's the detective in there. They're Death on the Nile. But
is it kind of a
very famous books written by Agatha Christie.
Kind of a Sherlock Holmesian stuff?
Yeah.
Okay. I never watched the Sherlock Holmes movies, only because I only heard shitty things about him. And then
he's a really Hercule Poirot's a really like anal retentive type guy. Like his egg has to weigh like a certain amount of weight for him to eat it. Like he's like super like that. So he makes a great detective because he's very like he notices each little thing and
different version of House, a different variation of that type of.
Yeah, like I said, it's good. Yeah, I guess let's get to these top 5s, but because it's rough.
Yeah, mine aren't in order because it was actually really hard to even think of shows that had good endings.
For my top 5, my number 5, I have Parks and Rec.
All right, I'll give you that one.
Seen Parks and Rec?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, yeah.
And the way it'd be higher because it ended happy, but it was just, I don't know, kind of cheesy. Leslie's Prez, and like everybody just makes it. That's the one thing I hate about sitcoms is everyone makes it to the best.
The pinnacle.
Like even How I Met Your Mother, which had a kind of a bad ending. Marshall's a Supreme Court justice. Ted's one of the most successful architects. Lily becomes this art person. Robin's like world renowned. Like, you know, it's like every single one of them makes it. Seriously. I don't know.
So, in a similar vein, I will then say Big Bang Theory. Sheldon finally got his Nobel. Amy's pregnant. I mean, that's really the ending was all about that. The last 3 or 4 episodes, the majority of the last season was about Sheldon and Amy getting their Nobel and how it was getting taken from them because some other random fuckers. But they tied a ribbon up really well.
It's the only way a sitcom can end and people will be happy. You just got to end happy.
Yeah, I just I watched it a lot. I especially watched a lot after Jackson was born because like you just have to put on like non-offensive stuff because you know you're not gonna be able to pay attention to jack shit.
Mm-hmm.
Jackson is 14 months old. I have watched the Big Bang Theory series probably 5 or 6 times since he was born, just because like it'll just run on and on. And now it's a point where as soon as the intro plays, like he's enthralled. He loves the intro. A whole universe was in a hot dead spin. It's also a good intro, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So there's 5.
Yeah, number 4 for me, I would say is Friends. Again, similar, just everything is happy. Put a nice little bow on it. Ross and Rachel finally end up together.
Chandler and Monica are moving to the suburbs as they should because they're the kids. Mm-hmm.
So it just kind of ends the way you want it to.
I will go after that. We already talked about him. House. I love the ending to that. I love that he was a selfish prick his whole doctor life. And Wilson's dying. He gives up his everything. He fakes his own death and they ride off into the sunset. I don't know what he was going to do after Wilson's dead because like now he's dead, so he can't be a doctor or anything like that. Faking your death is a felony, so like I don't know what House is going to do after that episode, but that's not the point. It was just finally he has done something that wasn't about House. So, number 4 for Miguel, House.
Number 3 for me is going to be my last like big name show. It's The Office. I really like the last 2 episodes of The Office. If you could pair them together,
I would say it's truly like a part 1, part 2.
Yeah, they're really good.
Yeah, it was my number 1.
Assistant to the assistant regional manager is fantastic. I love Dwight pulling over Angela and getting together. They bring Michael back. They give Ryan and Kelly the ending they deserve.
Yeah, they abandon the baby.
Yeah, and they go run off and be stupid. Nellie gets her baby. I mean, it's pretty good. I mean, they do a good job of wrapping everything up while keeping things realistic.
And it's very telling that Steve Carell is by far the best actor on that show.
Yeah.
He is a fucking excellent actor. And
I mean, assuming we're not counting like Robert California and stuff like people like that. We're not counting people.
Yeah, I'm not counting. Well, if that's the case, he is on par with Robert California and Nell. Not Nell. Who owns Savor? It's Kathy Bates, but I forget her name in the show.
Oh.
She's from Georgia or Tennessee, whatever. Either way.
Joe Bennett.
Yep, Joe Bennett. Who else did you say?
Idris Elba. Will Ferrell was a big name.
Yeah, but he's not a good
Jim
actor.
Carrey. Finger Lakes.
Yeah.
Ray Romano. That was a mess there for a little bit.
I don't think Ray's the greatest actor either.
No, we're talking about just quality
but
actors.
As far as acting, like Steve Carell, he showed me during the pandemic. He had a show on. There's a movie. He was dealing with addiction with his son. I found it during the pandemic, but it was a tough watch. Especially like you got a boy.
Oh, yeah. Probably won't ever watch it. I'm not into a lot of the sad movies. It has to be like ridiculously good for me to get there. What was your 3?
Hold on. For people who
do like sad stuff. Was it?
Oh,
Was it,
Beautiful Boy.
was it Steve Carell who was in Finding a Friend for the End of the World or whatever?
Yeah, that was another him with Tina Fey. Wasn't it? Wasn't it Tina Fey? That was a brunette.
That doesn't sound right.
Seeking a Friend for the End of the World. That was 2012. Keira Knightley.
Yep.
I mean, it's a young Tina Fey.
I was like, that doesn't sound right though.
But yeah, Beautiful Boy. It came out in 2018. I found it during the pandemic, and me and Nicole watched it, and I cried multiple times. I can't say definitively you should watch it because it is truly a movie that hits the feels in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, I probably end up won't watch it. To be honest. Okay.
God damn it, that's ridiculous. Like, hi. Steph Curry pulls up from 34 feet and just drains it.
Pulls up from the East Coast, even though they're at home.
Drano. So my number 3, to avoid the sitcom aspect of it, I'm gonna go Justified.
Okay.
Although, as you sent to me, which you were like 3 minutes ahead of my Twitter feed,
Oh, that it's coming back.
that it's coming back, and I am stoked. Nicole probably doesn't care much. She kind of cares because she likes it, but she's never actually watched it. You know how you see something on TV, you watch it a few episodes and you like it, but you never follow, like
Right.
dedicate. So she won't turn it off if it's on, and if I turn it on, it's not a show she'll turn off. If I turn The Office on, she'll grab the remote and she will actively turn it off while I'm watching it because she thinks it's stupid. Clearly, she has no sense of humor. She's not a funny person. She thinks she's so funny. Her friends think she's funny. I said, well, it just means that you don't have very funny friends. But Justified is a fabulous show. The last season's not the strongest writing, but as a series goes through 5.5 years, is just fucking phenomenal. And I don't think that they could have found a better Raylan Givens than Timothy Oliphant.
No.
He is
And they
him.
nailed Boyd Crowder too.
God. I'm hoping he's in the next one in some way, shape, or form. Although it looks like he died in the last one. We dug coal together. Like it was a good one. It was a good bow on it. So number 3, Justified.
My number 2 is only
What was your 3?
The Office.
What was number 4?
Friends. Parks and Rec.
Okay.
Number 2 is a show called Love. That was written by Judd Apatow.
Was that an HBO show?
It's on Netflix. It's just like it's a love story between like a dorky looking guy and kind of a attractive girl, and I don't know. It's just I really like their love story and just ends happy, and I like it. I enjoyed watching it all the way through.
I did love Gus. He's such an adorable nerd. Paul
Okay,
Rudd.
so then you watched it then?
I did.
Yeah. Gus and Mickey end up together at the end. I like it though.
I'm not sure if I watched all of season 3.
Yeah, it's good.
I love him as an actor. Like his weird, like his
He also helped write the show.
his mannerisms. I think what really charmed. And that Mickey chick is fucking weird, crazy. She pissed me off at several different points.
Britta, right? And Community.
Is she? Sure. She pissed me off on and off
Oh yeah.
because people just don't know how to be
She was
happy.
just broken.
Yeah.
You know, some people were just broken. It was just kind of cool. Like they both had their own like problems. I liked it.
Yeah. That was a show. Actually, Nicole was loving that show.
It's really good. But I think I was stupid and hated that I watched it. Don't you like how you have those shows where like you really like them and your spouse is like, I hate this.
Yeah, at the office, I deal with it all the time.
I'm so glad that it's not something as that
Big as
The
The
Office
Office.
where I want to keep rewatching it. Like, there's one thing like Love I got through once. I'm like, that's probably good.
The Office I put on frequently.
And that's hard. What is
And I'll
something that
put-
you want to watch all the time and they don't like it?
Luckily, she, as you've seen, she goes to bed at 8:30. When she's not pregnant, she kind of does that too. So it's like I have my chance to watch it,
Mm-hmm.
so I don't miss out too much. It's just during those prime time hours, and I want to instill that on Jackson. So like sometimes I'll come home, and I'm usually home like an hour and a half before her, prep dinner. I'll turn it on, start cooking, play with Jackson. Well, he gets to hear, doo-doo-doo, doo-doo-doo, and then the intro. He knows it. A show that you probably haven't watched. It ended well in your lifetime in the early 2010s. It was ER. But its heyday was when you were a fucking infant.
Never seen ER. Not
That's
a single episode.
Oh, man. You get to watch Baby, George Clooney, Anthony Edwards. You get to watch Goose. Maura Tierney, the wife
I've
in
heard it's a
Liar
really
Liar.
good show.
It is fucking great. John Leguizamo's in it a little bit. I hated his part because I love John Leguizamo, but they turned him into like this coked out drug dude. Like he was such a good actor. He played it well. Clemente,
Here's a question. Do
Mekhi
you like it
Phifer?
better than House?
yes, by a lot.
Do you like it better than Grey's Anatomy?
By a lot.
Do you like it better than Scrubs?
Depends on what I'm watching it for.
Enjoyment. I don't know. Do you like it better than Justified?
Yes. But there's also a duration aspect to it, career aspect to it.
I need to give it a shot.
But ER is good because it has such little to do. It's not formulaic in that aspect. Like, each episode is not focused on one case throughout.
See,
There'll be multiple cases
and
in
even
that
though
episode.
Scrubs kind of was. Is very little about like it was never this patient's sick. Let's find what's wrong with them. Something like that. It might be sometimes. A lot of it was just life lessons. Was what Scrubs is about.
Yeah, the only time a patient was important was when they taught something.
Yeah.
ER is just a blossoming for many careers, like Mekhi Phifer. George Clooney got big from it. Anthony Edwards, he was in the show for fucking 7-8 years, and they did really good at transitioning actors.
Yeah, I'll think of it a shot.
Like, it switched main characters a lot, and they were so good all the time. And its series finale was fabulous. The way they reunited so many of the original cast in a nice way, whether they were still on the show or if they died on the show. One way or another, almost everyone from episode 1 made it to the last 3 episodes.
Yeah, I need to try it.
It's on Hulu. You can have like 130 episodes to watch. It's a huge show. 25 episodes for 12 years.
That's like
It's like 220.
That's like
I think it's
300
212. It's like 212 episodes, I think, total.
it's a lot, but I'll probably watch it. And my number one.
Oh, wait, before you, ER actually also had the record for many years of the most expensive filming in history because they actually went to the Congo to film and bring attention to the national spotlight of the AIDS in the Congo. Like, it was pretty politically advanced for its time. Anyway, your numero uno.
There's a small British show by Ricky Gervais called Derek.
Isn't that where he's
Has autism.
Okay, I said he was on the spectrum.
It's such a good season finale that I think you could watch only the season finale and get a lot out of it.
And Gervais is Derek, right? He's the one that's on the spectrum.
It's a guy who's on the spectrum. He works at an old folks home or like a nursing home or something, and I mean it's just so beautiful. It's a mockumentary style, same as The Office, and it, like people are like, if I could be anyone in the world, like I'd probably be Derek. and like he's just so happy and he just loves his life. Like it's hits you right in the feels. And like I said, you could just watch that episode alone and be hit in the feels without even seeing it being a callback to all the moments that you saw before. Even without that, it's still great, and that's why it's my number one.
Bringing it up now. I don't. It was on my list. Oh, get out of there. Get out of there.
And that's why it's number one, because I'm like, you could watch the season finale only and not even watch the rest of the show, and it's just a great standalone. Even so, that's why I put it as my number one.
He was in another great show besides The Office, clearly. That was Afterlife. That was on Netflix too. That was really good. Although pretty fucking depressing, because it starts a couple months after his wife died, and he's just like a miserable schmuck. And the only thing that gets him out of bed every morning is because his dog has to eat.
Yeah, it's depressing.
There's a lot of depressing stuff in it, and in his depression, he gives a lot of great advice to other people. And it shows the slow climb out of his wife's grave to make friends with other people. So he's also got great fucking comedic delivery. Mm-hmm. So even in the depths of his depression, he does make some hilarious lines. Like in one of the episodes, like the first season, like episode 2 or 3, some young punks try to mug him. And he's like, so my options are, you rob me or you shoot me. And they're like, yeah, that's it. Give me all your money. And he goes, no, I'm not going to do that. You can kill me. I don't care. And then he hits one with a can of his dog's food right in the face. And he's like, piss off. I don't. Shoot me or don't. Leave. And they leave. And it was just like, it was fucking hilarious. And it's just like, man, when you depressed, you really don't give a fuck. So
right.
It played true to heart. Numero uno for Miguel. Pull my notes back up.
We chose The Office, right?
No, I can't. I'm not gonna. You already called The Office. I'm gonna go someplace different. And as we talked about, anthology series are the way things are going.
Mm-hmm.
This is a series where there's, I think, 4 of them now. There could be 3. But the first season and the first anthology was one of the greatest I've ever watched, no matter how fucking dark. It pulled me so hard. And I'm going to... 2 major stars headlined in it. Season 2 was not as good. Season 3 had Vince Vaughn and Colin Farrell. Season 1 had Woody Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey.
True Detective?
True Detective. Season 1 of True Detective was just so hardcore and so gritty, and watching Steph pull up from 30 fucking feet, like there's just, and it's like it's mid dribble, he throws it down his left hand on the ball's way up, like it's just like it's one motion. It's crazy. But the way they, clearly it's not a spoiler because season 1 I think was 5 years ago. True Detective, the hunt for this guy, and I am a fan of the like cult stuff and Satan worship stuff. Like, I'm not a Satan worshiper, as I've told many people in my life. I'm more of a Buddhist. I meditate. I believe in reincarnation. I'm a very much a golden rule person. So I'm more of a satanic Buddhist in that the Church of Satan is 10 tenets or don't be a prick. Cult stuff and demons, ghosts, that shit gets me. I love Paranormal Activity.
Have you watched the cult season of American Horror Story?
Nope.
Very interesting.
I usually just repeatedly watch season 1.
Really?
I watched Witches.
Witches was my favorite. Coven was my favorite, and I really liked Cult too. Evan.
Yeah, he's so good.
Whatever his last name is, he's the cult leader.
Naturally, he's probably
Evan Peters.
It's hard to say he's the best actor on the show, But he might be the best actor on the show. Even better than like when Connie Britton was in the first season.
The Colt episode, that season's just so good because like it's so creepy when you just follow someone like that who's deranged and just off a little bit.
You know, me and Lowell actually talked about trying to make a cult.
Oh, that's creepy.
Well, because like, we were gonna do it for the views. We were, if you can, you talk about formulaic. Cult behavior is all fairly formulaic as far as you gotta have a boisterous leader with beliefs. You gotta prop up the people you're following to get them to follow you, and there's a lot of cults out there. So we talked about doing it. So we were gonna do a YouTube series on becoming a cult, and we didn't follow through on it. I was pretty drunk at the time. Sobriety has been rough on my my artistic stylings. Sorry, am I boring you?
No, I just can't quit yawning for some reason.
Yeah, take deeper breaths. But I should have wrote down what time we started that so I could split that off and make it even two different. But we're at what?
Hour and a half.
I think it's plenty.
Yeah.
We'll do the Super Bowl episode next week.
No.
No?
Pro
It's no
Bowl.
week. The Pro Bowl week.
Woo!
A whole exciting bit of nothing.
Yeah.
If you're following on Twitter, I just retweeted Dan, formerly of Concepts AD, where I got masks and stuff before, who did the previous banner. He's sending us a new one, the MVZ podcast banner. Hopefully the co-host, the Z, will like and retweet.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of hoodies coming our way too. That was another Christmas present for you.
Okay.
Anyway, I think I'm spent. I might do a quick little pump. I got a new workbench. You can see the red head on there. I might do some flies. I got a chicken chest. These pecs are weak. It's hard to
Do whatever this thing is.
Yeah.
Make yourself want to die. Like lat raises.
Oh, yeah. You didn't realize how weak I was until I got that adjustable dumbbell, and you go to pick up a 50, and it's hard to pick up.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, well, curls 0. You guys will watch pretty soon. This shirt, I have to get when I fit into the XL versus the 2XL. You guys will see it on the arm. You're like, oh yeah, you're getting fit. Vanity muscles, baby.
There you go.
I didn't make it to the gym today because I put together the bench last night, and I sprained my wrist. So I couldn't move it this morning, but it's worked out pretty well now.
Good.
Anyway, any parting?
See you guys next week.
No real parting messages?
Nope.
All right. See y'all later.
Thanks for listening to the On Call Podcast. Check us out on Twitter @OnCallPod. Interested in being a sponsor or want to be on the show? Drop us an email at oncallpod@gmail.com. For more info, go to oncallpod.com.